Well, I'm delighted to welcome such a big crowd to sunny Castlewellan for the 37th anniversary of the National Hunger Strike Commemoration. Southdown Republicans are very honoured and privileged to be able to host this year's commemoration, not just because of course we're very proud of our own tradition, but this is also 100 years since the election of Countess Markievicz, so it's great to see so many Republican women who have been part of our struggles for so many years and who are still at the very vanguard of our struggle today. And it's also 220 years since the 1798 rebellion here in County Down, so we're very proud to be able to highlight the journey, the Irish Republican struggle for freedom over the years, and that's very much of what today's part of. But looking around, seeing huge crowds, it's great to see all 4 provinces and diaspora represented in big numbers here today. And it's great too to have the families of our patriot dead and our hunger strikers here with us in South Down. Our families of the great men and women who've given their lives, sacrificed everything for the Irish Republic, always hold a very special place in our hearts. So it's great to be able to welcome them here to South Down.
Well, that's a Gohuntach will scaff the more Marshaw. The Hela in Castlewellan. It's great to see such a great crowd here in Castlewellan, celebrating the sacrifice of the women in Armagh and the men in the Hitchblocks, and particularly the hunger strikers. So well done to County Down and to Republicans who put this together.
Another massive turnout here in Castlewellan, County Down, in memory of the 10 men who died in hunger strike in the Hitchblocks of Long Kesh, and also Michael Cahan and Frank Stagg. A big bull of bus has to go to the organisation here in County Down, South Down. Absolutely magnificent turnout, a fitting tribute to those who died in hunger strike to ensure that our political status will be secured. We are political prisoners. Chucky Ireland.
Between 1917 and 1981, a total of 22 Irish men have died on hunger strike in this phase of the struggle for Irish unity. The roll of honour of these martyrs of Irish republicanism is as follows. Thomas Ice, Kerry, 5 days, 25th of September 1917, force-fed by a tube, died as a result. Terence McSweeney, Cork, 74 days, 25th of October 1920. Michael Fitzgerald, Cork, 67 days, 17th of October 1920. Joseph Murphy, Cork, 76 days, 25th of October 1920. Joe Whitty, Wexford, 2nd of September 1923. Dennis Barry, Cork, 34 days, 20th of November 1923. Andy O'Sullivan, Cork, 40 days, 22nd of November 1923. Tony Dorsey, Galway, 52 days, 16th of April 1940. Jack Sean McNeila, Mayo, 55 days, 19th of April 1940. Sean McCaughey, Tyrone, 22 days, 11th of May 1946, hunger and thirst strike. Michael Gawkin, Mayo, 64 days, 3rd of June 1974. Frank Stagg, Mayo, 62 days, 12th of February 1976. Bobby Sands, Belfast, 66 days, 5th of May 1981. Frank Hughes, Balaki, Derry, 59 days, 12th of May 1981. Raymond McCrish, South Armagh, 61 days, 21st of May 1981. Patsy O'Hara, Derry, 61 days, 21st of May 1981. Joe McDonald, Belfast, 61 days, 8th of July 1981. Martin Herson, Tyrone, 46 days, 13th of July 1981. Kevin Lynch, Dungiven, Derry, 71 days, 1st of August 1981. Kieran Doherty, Belfast, 73 days, 2nd of August 1981. Thomas McElwee, Balaki, Derry, 62 days, 8th of August 1981. Michael Devine, Derry, 60 days, 20th of August 1981.
What compels young men to die? A death so long and cruel, to suffer years of pain and shame in solitary in jails. I speak of men like Hughes and Sands, O'Hara and McCrish, laying in the blocks of hell where brutality is released. Untold pain, heartaches, restless, lonely nights, where men find strength within their hearts to stand for what is right. Oppression equals slavery, and resistance stems from both. And those who fight to end it are soldiers of the truth. No matter if they recognise the truth in here or not, the products of these years of pain upon them they have brought. This hunger strike where young men die, not for glory, not for gain, but for recognition of the wars raging through our land. Laying in their beds this night, just bones and clinging flesh, plain, a session and cold and worn in the H-blocks of Long Kesh. They are dying for the people's cause, not for their own or foreign greed. They'll die if you don't help them in this, their hour of need.
In recent times, much has been made of commemorations like this one today and our right to honour and pay tribute to our patriot dead. Just as in 1981, our political opponents want to criminalise our heroes and they want us to forget. Accordia, as we stand here today, let us send a message to friend and foe alike. We are proud of our fallen comrades and we will remember them. The foundation of Sinn Féin in 1905 began the start of the revolutionary period in modern Ireland. We have had 15 party presidents in that 113-year period, including the first female leader of any Irish party, Margaret Buckley from County Cork. And for the last 35 years, we've had the colossus world statesman that is Gerry Adams, TD. As president of Sinn Féin during the most trying times since the Black and Tan War and treaty negotiations in 1921, and before and after the Civil War, the two present main political parties in the 26 counties broke from their mother party, Sinn Féin. In the conservative world of Southern Irish politics, decaying orthodoxies can live on for a long time, but the Sinn Féin brand is as relevant now as it was in the 1918 election. We have at the forefront of our party the person who frightens that political establishment to its very core. Whenever the proclamation of 1916 needs to be evoked, Whenever people's rights require defending, she is there standing up for the citizens of Ireland, whether in the West in Connacht, down in Munster, in her beloved Leinster, and yes, up here in Ulster too. Accordia, please give a huge welcome to TD for Dublin Central and Uachtaráin Sinn Féin Mary Lou McDonald.
So, Arish Fáilteoireamh Galéir a Cóirte Gael. Agus táimid an sonniú chun comóra dhéanamh na léachra a fuarbás Stailc Ulcris. Agus táimid an sochan seasamh le muintir na Stailcóirí Ulcris. Spragan sibh muid go Joe. Today, Irish Republicans commemorate the sacrifice and celebrate the lives of our hunger strikers. And we are, as ever, humbled to be here with the families of our hunger strikers, families who have given so much and who have carried their great loss with such dignity. You, all of you, continue to inspire all of us. The 1981 hunger strike was a pivotal moment in Irish history, which saw Republican prisoners thwart British government efforts to criminalise the struggle for a united Ireland. The bravery of the hunger strikers has inspired freedom-loving people right across the globe. And here in Ireland, Republicans remember with deep pride the sacrifice and the heroism of those who died in the H-blocks. Bobby Sands, Francis Hughes, Raymond McCreesh, Patsy O'Hara, Joe McDonald, Martin Herson, Kevin Lynch, Kieran Doherty, Thomas McElwee, and Michael Devine. We also remember Thomas Ashe, Terence McSweeney, Frank Stagg, Michael Gahan, and all those from every generation who died on hunger strike. They died for us. 1981 was a watershed year in Irish history. The Irish political landscape was upended and recast. The election of Bobby Sands as MP for Fermanagh South Tyrone and the election of Kieran Doherty and Paddy Agnew as anti-H-block TDs changed and charged the direction of Republican election strategy. It shattered the era of single-party government in the South. And the hunger strikers, our hunger strikers, gave Maggie Thatcher her answer, because they would not be criminalised. And in 2018 we re-echo that assertion that we will not allow them to be criminalised ever. Young volunteers born into an oppressive sectarian state. 10 who took a stand. 10 who could not be broken. 10 who amplified the words of Terence McSweeney, the Lord Mayor of Cork, who died on hunger strike in Brixton Prison in October 1920, when he said, "This contest of ours is not on our side a rivalry of vengeance, but one of endurance. It's not those who inflict most, but those who can suffer most, who will conquer." cut short, 10 grieving families, 10 figures who will never be forgotten, who loom large in Irish history. So 37 years on, many of the men and women who were active in the jail protests have raised their own families. They've lived to see their children grow up in a changed and changing Ireland. And today they see, as we see, that the legacy of the hunger strikers lives on. Because republicanism is renewed and revitalised. There are now more Republicans across this Ireland of ours than at any time since partition. And a new generation drives change. Change rooted in the Republican values of equality, of solidarity, and of freedom. This year marks the centenary of the 1918 general election. That was the election in which a majority of Irish citizens turned their backs on Westminster and voted overwhelmingly for an independent Ireland. This was a changing Ireland led by a revolutionary generation. Sinn Féin MPs refused to go to Westminster and established the first Dáil. This was the election also a first in which women had the vote, and the first woman abstentionist Sinn Féin MP was returned, that being Constance Markievicz. Today, friends, Ireland is again at a point of great change. Many of the old certainties are gone. Long-standing conservative forces have been weakened. The tide of history is with us who seek a progressive, inclusive future. The tide of history is with us, those who work for a united Ireland. And it's increasingly clear that the partition of Ireland is an obstacle to building a modern, open and forward-looking society. Economic and social challenges, the civil rights of women, of gay citizens, and of course Brexit and the prospect of a hard border further expose the fact that a divided Ireland does not serve the needs of our people, of any section of our people. Tá aontacht na hÉireann arás I lár an phlé fola túl agus tá gála referan chun éire a aon tú. Irish unity is back centre in the political discussion. A referendum on a united Ireland is provided for in the Good Friday Agreement, and the need for that referendum is now writ large. So it's no longer a case of if we have a unity referendum. It is, in fact, a question of when. Those who would wish to look the other way, to wish away change, need to think again. We now have an urgent need for dialogue to manage the change that is upon us. And this dialogue must involve unionist political leaders. All political leaders must now begin practical preparations for a new Ireland beyond partition. The Irish government in particular has a responsibility to lead an informed, reasoned and respectful public dialogue, because we're entering into a defining period in Irish political history. Change is coming, and it must be managed sensitively and imaginatively. A process of national reconciliation has to be central to any genuine effort to unite the people of our island. As Britain turns away from Europe, The appeal of being part of a new, outward-looking Ireland will, I believe, prove ever more attractive to some within the Unionist community. British identity, as we know, can and will be accommodated in a new Ireland. I know that Republican and Nationalist Ireland is open to the constitutional and political safeguards to make that happen. The right of Unionists to celebrate their history and their tradition, to recount their experiences and suffering, and to remember and honour their dead must be and will be respected. Just as our right to remember, to commemorate and to honour our dead will also be respected. The responsibility to ensure an agreed process of change is also why we need the institutions that Stormont re-established. It's why we need the foundations of the Good Friday Agreement, equality, rights and respect in place. Increased All-Ireland cooperation and the building of relationships between people from different political outlooks is crucial as we face into challenging and changing times. And we in Sinn Féin are committed to re-establishing the Executive and the Assembly. The Irish and British governments have said there will be a new round of talks in the autumn, and that is to be welcomed. However, basic rights, respect and equality cannot be disregarded. They are not bargaining chips. They are for all in society. Marriage equality, the right to an inquest and language rights, Acht na Gaeilge, are for everyone. 50 years on from the civil rights movement, sections of political unionism still resist equality and rights, but they will not succeed. And it's not sufficient for the governments only to call a talks process. They have to bring something to the table. They need to make clear that agreements must be implemented in full. The way to unlock the current political process is to make it absolutely clear that rights enjoyed in the rest of Ireland and in the neighbouring island of Britain will be implemented here in the north. And of course I say that mindful that we are dealing with the British government that is dependent on DUP votes and sees Ireland as collateral damage in their desire to remain in office. And that is why we need a strong Irish government leading on these issues. Díreach céad bliain ó shin an Cearla de Lúnasa, nídéag ochtéag, bhí an Domhnach Gaelach ann. Le cluichí fud na tíre, mar freagar rialtas na Bratainne, a bhí ag éirí cosc a chur Cumann Lú-Clas Gael. 100 years ago this weekend, on the 4th of August 1918, we had Gaelic Sunday. On that day, hundreds of football, hurling and camogie matches were played all over Ireland in defiance of a ban on the GAA from the British regime in Dublin Castle. It was an act of mass resistance by the Irish nation. Thousands of people took part as players and spectators. And it was a reminder then and since that rights and freedoms are won by those who stand up for them, by those who will not back down, by those who take their rights with both hands. So Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has said that the North will never again be left behind. Well, we are fast approaching a time when that commitment will be tested. The process of political change isn't confined to the North, because the days of the two conservative political parties completely dominating politics in the South is over. The growing strength of Sinn Féin has been central to this change and to the change that is on its way. It's been evidenced in recent referendums. This generation is making political and social change, and there is much more to do. Broadening out that process to include more of our citizens, in particular those who need economic change, requires a new kind of government in Dublin. And only a government of which Sinn Féin is a major component will address the challenges that face our people. Only Sinn Féin will bring fairness, equality and social justice to the heart of government. Spragan na Stailcóirí Ocris Muid, sa lá atá inniu ann. Táid tumanse cinntiú gnéonfaí an tír a thuaimid an óir dóibh. Beidh sé éire aontaithe síocháanta. Beidh deis rathúil ann. Agus neadar de chuid credamh de dá, de iscne, nó de cléanach gnéasach. The hunger strike and the hunger strikers lit a flame which burns brightly today in the heart of every Irish Republican. We remain deeply committed to ensuring that the type of Ireland we build will honour their extraordinary sacrifice. It will be an Ireland united and at peace with itself. It will be a successful, prosperous Ireland of opportunity for all, regardless of class, colour, religion, gender or sexual orientation. It will be an Ireland that finally takes its place among the nations of the world. An ancient European nation that stands squarely on the side of global justice. One that stands for emancipation, for freedom and for solidarity. And we will face political resistance on the way, be in no doubt of that. But Republicans are long-sighted and optimistic. Frustration, anger or negativity cannot and will not blunt or blur our political imagination, our political struggle and our political will. If anyone had the right to be frustrated, to be angry, to be negative, it was the prisoners of Long Kesh, Armagh and elsewhere. But 37 years ago, naked and imprisoned, Bobby Sands looked beyond the immediate, daunting challenges that faced him and towards the future. When the system tried to break Bobby, his reply was, "Our revenge will be the laughter of our children." And we draw our inspiration from those words. Those words typify the generosity and hope of a real leader. A leader who could see beyond the challenges of today and into the opportunity of tomorrow. And that's the leadership, that's the hope, that's the positivity that should drive us today. Despite all of the challenges, the political frustrations that may confront us, we know in our hearts, we know in our heads that a new agreed Ireland is coming. As Bobby said, it is then, my friends, that we will see the rising of the moon. So gur míle maithagah go léir agus ar aghaidh ling le chéile.
Sinn Féin, Go Ananus, Carta agus Aontas na HÉireann, Equality, Rights and Irish Unity.